Ignite to impact.
Do you ever wonder about, now that you have your new job, what to do with it? What you do next? Well, in today's conversation, we're going to talk about some fabulous, practical, easy to use tips and strategies for when you do, on the job and when you've got that new career. And it's going to be fun, fun, fun. Good morning, and how are you? This is Dr. Geneva, and welcome to Ignite to Impact Live. I'm so glad you're with us. This is the best place for great conversations about the leader in you, growing and enhancing and discovering all that you've got going on and being able to apply it, particularly if you're uncertain about what to do, when, and where. And today we're going to talk about, once you've done all that you can do to land that great job, which our last segment, we had a great conversation about that. The 5 steps to getting your next gig, getting your next great opportunity, executive opportunity, new career opportunity. And so at the end of that conversation, we had some comments from some of you about, okay, so what's next? And I love answering that what's next question, because I think that helps us really strategize our life because we can create and design our own life, and constantly asking ourselves, well, what's next? What's the next level? What should I do next? Your next moves really helps you think about your future and the life that you want to design. So today we're asking the question, hey, what do you do next? You've got a great job. How do you keep it? How do you grow in it? How do you enhance it? And who's going to join me again? That executive search leader who started this conversation with us in our last session. And if you didn't catch that, please go on my feed. It's there. You'll see it. So if you're either live with me now or you're on the replay, check it out. It was a great, great conversation. And we talked about what are the essentials to getting that executive position. And we talked about you have to do your why. You have to understand your why. You have to have a digital presence and enhance that digital presence, because if you're out there looking, you're interviewing, you're talking to people about, you're interested in changing careers, the first thing someone's going to do is they're going to Google you. So you want to make sure your digital presence is on point. We talked about knowing your values and what's important as something that's crucial to finding your executive opportunity. And then what I loved and what our guest brought to us was to act as though every interaction is an interview. Yes, yes, yes. So we're going to get some more gems and have a great conversation. We're going to have fun with Leslie Esther's Red Wine, a dear, dear friend of mine who is a former nonprofit CEO, and that's how we met in the nonprofit world. But she has transitioned to executive coaching and recruiting, and an expert on what it takes to do your job the best way. And she's able to do this because she's managed multi-million-dollar budgets, teams over 100+ folk, and various stakeholders. And her company, LER Consultants and Advisors, is a boutique consulting practice specializing in executive coaching, executive management, executive recruiting, leadership. And she also advises nonprofits on governing and gives support to educational institutions, government, and social ventures. And so she has served in the role as CEO of several nonprofits locally and across the country. She's an attorney. She got her stuff together, and I'm so glad she's with us again today. How you doing, Leslie? Come on in and join us, and let's talk about now that I've got the job, what do I do?
Yes.
How are you?
Good
How are
morning,
you
Dr.
today?
Geneva. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you so much for having me back today. I just love talking about this work, and I love having a chance to share it with your audience. And it's my passion, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, we love to have people on who have that, what I call that combo, that passion and that expertise. Yes. So it's, having the two of those combined is wonderful. So let's jump right in it. So answer the question for me. I've got the job. Now what do I do?
Well, now that you've got the job, it just boils down to 5 things, and we'll walk through these with the audience today, but it boils down to this. You have to set really clear goals. You have to build your team and your champions around you. You have to really double down and manage your relationships. I talked about managing relationships in getting the job, but there's also the managing relationships part of keeping it. You have to get in there, roll up your sleeves, and do the work. And then you have to take care of yourself while you're at it. So I'm excited to dive in and talk about these things today.
Oh, I love it. So right at you. Everybody's got those 5 things, and we're going to unpack each of them. So let's, I where I want to start though?
Yeah.
I want to start with the last one.
Okay.
Because I'm a freaking advocate of this one. That is that self-care, as you know. So I want to start there.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
So, Dr. Geneva, you talked about the fact that I have been a CEO, and I think in reflection of my work, I feel that I was very unbalanced. And I'm just being very reflective of my own experience. I was very focused on the results of my organization, but I wasn't focused on me. And a very wise executive coach that I had at the time literally pulled me to the side and said, Leslie, there's no way that you can take care of all that you have in front of you in terms of the work if you're really not taking care of yourself. And after really digesting what he shared with me, he was so right. I was stressed. I was filled with anxiety. I had a lot of my plate. I had board meetings and committee meetings and a lot of stuff that I needed to do. I had to fundraise, but I was a mother. I was a wife. I was a daughter. And I was managing all of the organizations, and it was a hamster wheel for me. And, if you think of the sweater and that one little thread that if you pulled it, the sweater would unravel, that was
right.
me. And so I learned, I feel like self-care, literally the personal journey for me was I learned how, I think one day I remember looking out the window and looking at the sky. And I don't know if I ever had done that, but I just remember just looking at the sky or looking at the trees. And I just immediately felt very calm. But then I learned how to take walks. I learned how to work out. I learned, how to go on a vacation and just really, put away a lot of what I was thinking about. And actually, that gave me clarity. And so when I stepped away from the work to think and recommit, reinvest, and reinvigorate myself, I was all the better for getting the work done. So I think you're right. It's the best place to start because this is about you, and you can't be in the work if you're not present for it. And so this morning, it makes me think about all the Black Girl Magic riders that who ride a Peloton. And the community of Black Girl Magic is just awesome. And those ladies give me life. And if you are a Peloton rider and you ride, it really, that's about self-care. And so I'm
Yes.
just delighted to share that with you.
I love it, and I'm glad you are able to pour that into us, because I think it's such an important, not only context, but a level setter.
Yes.
Because whether it's on the job or in life or in your business or interacting with your family, taking care of your kids, whatever it is, that self-care element is crucial
Yes.
to you being your best self. So thank you for sharing that. And hey, so I got the job. What do I do next? Hey, take
Okay.
care of yourself.
Yeah,
So what else? So
absolutely.
you take it from here. So what next? Mhm.
So, okay. And I think the thing to remember is self-care has to run parallel to everything else that we say. So thank you so much for literally
Mhm.
raising that up as an issue. But now that
I
you've got
w-
the job,
Let me just say good morning to Deidre. How you doing,
good
Deidre?
morning.
My dear friend and social media guru. She runs a phenomenal company, and she and I served on the Governor's Michigan Women's Commission. Love you. So Leslie, go ahead with the second tip.
Yes. Hi, Dee. So you've got the job, you've arrived in your role, you're excited, you're ready to roll up your sleeves, but I want you to do two things first. Think about your next job. And I know that sounds very counterintuitive, but you've landed the job and you actually have to really visualize, well, what am I going to do next? Because
Mhm.
that's going to help you really create the roadmap that you're going to need for your job. So if you're hired in as the director, I want you to think about, well, what do I need to do to become the VP? If you're
Mhm.
hired in as a VP, I
Yes.
want you to think about, what do you need to do to become the managing partner? You see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
Here, I think it's important for you to clearly write down what you want to accomplish in your role, and next to that aligns with what you've been hired to do. And I would call these your meta goals. I would publish them with yourself. I would think about revisiting them from time to time. I would set benchmarks. And these are personal to you because
Mhm.
you have to really create the footprint that you need to
Mhm.
excel professionally. And so
Mhm.
that's
I
the
love
first
it.
thing that I would
Mhm.
ask.
You
The
know, I really like that,
Mhm.
Leslie, because it also says, this is my life. You know,
Yeah.
so often when we're talking about the context of a job and we are working for someone, so often we're thinking about what they want,
Yes.
the employer wants,
Yes.
etc., which is important. Don't get
Yes.
me wrong. But this kind of mindset says, well, you know, this is my life.
Yes.
What do I want to achieve? What do I want to accomplish? And it's not that you do that only, it's that you also put that on the table with, what are the expectations of my employer? So it's not a mutually exclusive kind of thing.
I think it's just the right thing to do, because guess what? Once you get in that job and you haven't done this step, you're going to find yourself going down a path that someone else wants you to be on. And you have
Right.
to really maintain a level of control about what it is that you're there to do and what you're trying to accomplish. And so, again, personal goals, this is a time to really start to write down what it is
Okay.
you want to accomplish. And
Okay.
so then
So
next,
go ahead. So
and then
I'm
next,
just taking my notes, you know, because
so the
I got
next thing I
self
want you to
care,
do,
I got
the
self
next
care,
thing I want you to
and
do is,
personal goals.
yes, the next thing I want you to do is to think about, well, what am I going to accomplish over the next 90 days, the first year, the first 5 years? Because every time you get a new job, you should see yourself in it for a period of time. You should think
Okay.
about, you're not going to solve whatever you've been asked to solve overnight. So over that period of time, what do you want to accomplish? And these goals should be directly aligned to what was discussed in your job description, what you were discussed with your manager, or if a board hired you, what they would like to see as the priorities of the organization. They should be aligned to the organization's vision, the mission, the priorities of the goals, the challenges that, if you've done like the whole SWOT analysis, they should be aligned to what that is. And these professional goals, you should publish them. People should know what it is you are as that leader coming in the door, what it is that you're going to do, what are you going to achieve, and you should also publish the milestones as well. So here, when you set goals, I want you to think about, what are my personal goals and what are my professional goals, and just go at it.
All right. So when we talk about this step of goals, I'm hearing you say, again, with that theme of I'm in this too, that we have a set of personal goals that we want to achieve for ourselves, for our career, our accomplishments, as well as what is expected on the job. And did I hear you say that you align that with your interview and what you were hired for and the job description?
Yes. I mean, you want to get in the job and you want to win at what they hired you for, right? But you also want to think about, how do I go about getting those tasks done? And you want to regurgitate back to those that have entrusted you with the work that you're going to be able to do it. And that's why, and you have to publish it. You have to communicate. You have to talk about, here's what my plan is. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to go about it, so that people can clearly see that you're in the work, that you know exactly and you understand what it is that you've been asked to do. But the goal setting, I think, is just one way, in addition to self-care.
Yes.
To get,
Leslie, I want to unpack for a moment, publish.
Yes.
And what do you mean by that? Because we're not telling people to go out and write a book and then put it on Amazon, though you can go to Amazon and get some of my books.
Yes. I would highly recommend that.
Yes, but that's not the kind of publishing you're talking about. Say a little bit more.
Yeah, I just mean to clearly communicate what it is that you intend to do.
Okay.
So if you're walking into an organization and you're a senior leader or director, you have a manager who works with you, you should be clearly communicating, I understand my job. I understand the roles and responsibilities that I've been given. And here I'm going to share with the community that I work with, sometimes internally, sometimes externally. Here's what it is that I've been asked to solve, and here's how I'm going to go about solving the problem. So when I say publish, I mean just communicate and let people know what you're doing. Let them know how you're thinking about whatever the problem is that you've been asked to solve.
Okay, great. Okay, self-care, goal setting, both personal and professional.
And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to build our team. We have to build a team of people around us that's going to actually help us to achieve our goals. And again, I would like for you to think about it in a two-pronged way. You need a team that's going to help you build your personal goals. You need a team that's going to help you build your professional goals. And this is so important. And I think that one of the things that I like to think about is, there's a book that I reference here. It was given to me by one of my executive leader friends called The 4 Obsessions of an Extraordinary Executive. And it really talks about creating teams, building teams, creating clarity in the work that you're doing. And I'm just such a avid leadership learner. I love reading books. I just can't stress enough that the people around you are going to, if selected wisely, are going to help you achieve the goals that you have. And this is your chance, I think, as an executive leader, to be thoughtful around who's going to sit at the table with you to help you strategically solve your challenges. And this is the place where you have to inventory skills of the people that you may walk into the organization, and you may have a team that's right there ready to lead with you, and you don't get to maybe select them, but you can inventory their skills and see, based on the goals that you've set and what you need to accomplish, how is this person going to help me solve that problem?
Right.
And
Right.
once you continue to do that inventory of the people around you, you can start to create those champions that are going to be helping you create the goals and create the goals and create the ownership
Yes.
around the work.
Yes. Create champions. I love that. You know, part of your role, particularly if you're in a leadership position, but part of your role is to create champions. I love it. Deidre agrees with you on the book that you
Yes, thanks,
gave us. She, you know, saying it's not only a good book to read, but it's an easy read, which is great. I know that's good. And so let's get the title of it one more time.
Yes, it's called The 4 Obsessions of an Extraordinary Executive, and it's by Patrick. 4 Obsessions of an Extraordinary Executive, and it's by Patrick Lencioni, and he writes the most amazing leadership books. He's
very much so.
The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, which is a must-have if you're a leader. He's written Death by Meeting. There's just a lot of books.
Yes, that's the one. That's one of my ones. It's one of my favorites. Yeah. All right, then. So, hey, dropping them gems. I just love having you here, dropping them gems. It's really great, and we're loving it.
Yeah.
And so we're now. Let me see. I think we've built up 4. Oh, we're at 3. But you want to say? Come on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But when you're building your team, I also want you to think about, remember I talked about personal goals.
Yes.
And so, and I talked about the fact that you have to set these goals that you'd like to achieve. I also want you to think about building your team, which is the board of advisors that you have around you. People that you can call on that can help you solve a problem. Going at it alone, when you're in work, sometimes, especially if there's a stretch task or stretch opportunity, you're doing something new that you've never done before, you should enlist people. This is a place where you should get an accountability partner. Someone can help you keep you on track, an executive coach, a mentor, someone who's been in the seat that you're sitting in before that can help guide you. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. It's all the reason to figure out how you're going to solve your problem and shine while you're doing it. And so, and I just like to say, Dr. Geneva, you've been a person like that for me. And so whenever you have, whenever I've been confronted, and when I was in my CEO seat, and we know what that was like, I had that group of people that I could call, and they just knew that they were available. I have a very dear friend right now. We literally have a morning powwow every morning to talk about the challenges that we're having professionally. We need that in this work, because if you keep it all bottled in, that's not self-care.
Yes.
And so
absolutely
find a way to really find your tribe, find your people that are going to help you solve the problems you've been asked to solve in your role.
Yes, absolutely. Extraordinary, important comments and strategies. Thank you so much for that. And again, it's the 2 sides of it. So, that personal, building your team around you, whether, you're an employee or, an executive level, or running your own business, that personal building your team, it fits. It just is there, and having a group of people that you can count on that can give you advice, can be direct and frank with you, can give you support, cheerleaders. So different. One of the things that I think is very important is that our board of directors or advisors, our personal support group, needs to be diverse.
Yes.
So I think we should have people, that we talk to that are rah support, cheerleader type wherever we are. And we need the folk who are just going to tell it like it is, who tend to be perhaps highly critical. And it's okay to have them in your space.
Yes.
Wouldn't you agree?
I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, again, I would say, I've had the beauty and luxury of having executive coaches along my leadership journey, and each one of them literally dropped gems. But I mean, there could have been a moment where I was with an executive coach and in tears, right? Because they just really, their job is to put a mirror up to you and help you really see, how it is that you're going to go about solving your problem. And I think if you can be vulnerable in a relationship like that, it's very helpful, because when you have to put that executive leadership face, you're sitting in a board meeting, there are no tears, right? It's all about getting the work done.
That's right. There's no crying in the boardroom.
Yes, exactly.
There's no crying in boardroom.
Yes, you have to literally put your, brave face on. You have to go in,
right.
You have to show up. You've been paid, as an executive, to be able to do the job that you were hired to do. And so you can, behind the scenes, in your personal space, deal with whatever it is that you need to deal with. But I think that, having a space and people to really give you advice is so important, especially if you're in a very senior position and you don't have the space to really connect with your colleagues the way you might want to.
Okay. All right. So I think we've got 2 more.
Yes,
according to my list.
I think the other piece of this, I talked about this in my first podcast with you, Dr. Geneva, which is about creating relationships to get you the job.
Yes.
But you have to sustain the relationships to keep the job. And so you've walked in the door to your new role. And I just would say the best advice that I've been given and what I see is really effective is, suspend your need to go in and give directives, right? Sometimes we become the executive. We've given a lot of latitude to manage people and do the work. I think that it's important to understand what it is that you're doing. And it's also important to understand who you're doing it with. So getting to know your team, getting to know the working styles of the people that you're working with you is just so important, because as you get to manage them, when you get into the work, understanding those personalities is just more effective, and it will make you a very effective leader. And I just have a note on this because I've seen it happen too. This isn't about, surface level relationships. I find that getting into work and you want to be super effective, you want to know the people that you're working with. You want to know their birthdays. You want to know what drives them. You want to know about their families. And you want to be able to really lean in and support them in the ways that they need to, because that's really what's going to help you win in the end. And so it's important to just establish that genuine relationship, because that's what's going to help you be successful.
Great. And it's interesting because relationships, it just crosses all paths again, whether you're corporate world, running your own business, family, in your family, it's all about those relationships. And so, Deidre, okay, thank you, Deidre. I'm so glad you came in to join us. Hope to see you soon. She's probably off to one of them high-powered meetings. She's so very much in demand in her brand and marketing agency that she has. So love you, Deidre. Talk to you soon. Okay, so I'm waiting. I'm excited about, are we at number 5?
Yes. So
Okay.
we really are. Here, it's just doing the work. Like we've talked about
Oh,
self-care.
wow.
We've talked
Just do the
about
work.
we've talked about goal setting. We've talked about building relationships. We talked about building your team.
Uh-huh.
You got to now do
Right.
the work. You got to roll up your sleeves. You've got to really, manage the team around what you're doing. And another, book I'll throw out
Oh,
that I
yes.
think is very helpful for this one is The Four Disciplines of Execution.
Okay.
And this book really helps you think through the strategy, right? Which is the things you can do with a stroke of a pen. But
Mm-hmm.
then there's the stuff that you have to do, particularly in the executive level roles, which is changing people's behaviors around the work. And that's
Mm.
very complicated. So
Yes.
I think that you have to really be about in this at this point is thinking about how am I going to now do the work? Am I going to
Mm-hmm.
set up committees? Am I
Mm-hmm.
going to
Mm-hmm.
do progress check-ins?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to create some cross-functional teams to get the work done? How am I going to manage up and let people know what it is that I am doing? How do I communicate what's happening in this leadership role? What happens if the plan that we've set isn't going well? How am I going to
Mm-hmm.
communicate that? And so doing the work is the big part of why you've been hired to do the
Mm-hmm.
job.
Mm-hmm.
And so you really have to get in there and really be unafraid to tackle whatever those challenges are. And so I loved, I was and I still am to this day, like a roll up your sleeves leader. Like I like
Mm-hmm.
to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
I was great at achieving my goals that I've set professionally, but it's tough and it's hard. And
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to really be thoughtful around how you're going to go at it, who's going to go at it with you, how you're going to manage those relationships of the people who are going to work on your team, how you're going to publish and communicate to people exactly what it is that you're doing, and how you're going to take care of yourself while you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so I think that there's so much more I could say. And I wanted to just say, you know, a couple of other little tidbits, Dr. Geneva,
Okay.
I could say one thing that I learned when I was in graduate school was that journaling your experience is so important. And
Mm-hmm.
then when I met you at the very start of my CEO tenure, you said, Leslie, you're going to want to journal this experience because it's going to be a roller coaster ride. And I'm so excited to hear that you created journals. So you need to
Yes.
go to Amazon and get Dr. Geneva's journals
Mm-hmm.
to
Yes.
help you really, chart, exactly what those goals are and chart what's happening in the experience so you can go back and revisit them. So I would say write things down and get to really see for yourself the progression that you're making in your leadership role.
Oh, yes. The progression. That is so important because um, so often we think that we might not be making progress or
Mm-hmm.
things haven't changed. When I used to volunteers people that I worked with in United Way, whenever we were doing a community building project, I would I'd get the observation or the comment that, are we really changing anything? And how
Mm-hmm.
can we tell? Or people even feeling frustrated or tired or, just disappointed perhaps. And the thing I used to always say and still say it today, to really see change, it's important to stop for a moment, breathe, and look back.
Yeah.
And look at what it was. you know and look at where you are now,
Yes.
and that the one of the real beauties of life is to be able to define and see progress, because it's not just taking it over the goal line, but it also is what you do to get there.
Yeah.
Because you learn so much, Leslie, as you
Yeah.
said, you just learn so much. That's why I'm a big fan of journaling,
Yes.
because it's a way for you to look back and assess.
I agree. And I think the reflection of your work is important. There's so many times that I think back to a decision that I made, or and when you're in leadership, you're making lots of decisions, and everybody doesn't necessarily know why you had to make that decision, or what went into the decision that you made. And then I
Yes.
reflect on what I could have done differently, how I could have solved that problem in
Right.
another way. And I think that that's really an important space to be in, and which is why you have to take a step back, which is why you should write about it and think about those things. Because today, I feel like after spending so much time in leadership positions, I feel like I have a story for everything, a story for every experience that I can share. And the one reason why I like working with executive leaders, as a coach, as an advisor, as a support, is just that I can help them solve problems because I've seen them before and I've
Right.
experienced them. And I think if I could just say one last thing, which
Yes.
is, as you're doing the work, please make sure you keep a portfolio of the work that you're doing. Because
Yes.
remember, when you step into this job, you're stepping into a job that's going to be the stair step for the next opportunity, right? And if you're
Yes.
going to the next opportunity, you want to have exemplars of what you accomplished. Every time I interview a new candidate for an executive leadership role, I ask the question, what were you hired to solve? Because that really, I think that question really sums up why this person is what they did in their last job. And if you can take out and pull out an exemplar or of this was the challenge and this
An
is how I
example.
solved it. Yes, I think it works so well and so nicely.
I love it. Yes, yes. Well, hey, I knew you'd come again with gems, and you've dropped these 5 wonderful gems, and have said and shared, just so much. Leslie, red wine, we love you. We love having you here and providing and giving all this value. And so we'll have you back again. Thank you so, so, so much for being on Ignite to Impact, because you certainly have shown us how, we can impact once we've gotten that job. Hey, how we can, now we know what to do next. And because we know what to do next, we can really create extraordinary impact.
Yes.
And so that's what it leads to. So thank you so much, Leslie, for being with us.
Thank you, Dr. Geneva. And I just, I think I sing your praises forever. So looking forward to continuing to watch your show and hopefully come back again and share a little bit more.
Consider it done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leslie. Wasn't that a great conversation? Just all of the expertise and what you can hear from people who've been there, to, spend that kind of time to share that value with us. I just love it. And, Leslie mentioned one of my favorite techniques, which you all know, is journaling. And I've been giving strategies about journaling, talking about it, its benefits, how to do it, the easy ways to do it for a long time. And I've used the technique myself in my journey. And I about, a couple months ago, I got an email from one of my clients who just was complimenting, said they enjoyed the last session that we had and very much wanted to get into journaling and wanted to know where were my journal books for her to use. And, I thought about it and I said, well, since you asked, okay, I'm going to do that. So I've just created 3 journal books. I want to mention the first one today in particular because it goes right along with the topic we've had, and it's the Business Planner for Life journal. And, I do believe, people say, well, this is my work life, and this is my career life, and this is my social life, and this is my family life. Folk, it's all life. It's all life. And there's different aspects of our life. And that's why I created this business planner for life, which really, talks about, you start a business checklist, it's over 90 some pages. You can put your vision and your mission. There's a place for you to do a SWOT analysis. I know you've heard about it. Companies and corporations are always doing a SWOT analysis. Well, you can do your own right here in this journal. A goals planner. We talk a lot about goal setting, a to-do list. It's really all here in this business planner for life. So I hope you go to Amazon, Dr. Geneva Speaks. Just put in Dr. Geneva Speaks. My journals will pop up. And then for you book lovers, I've got something where you can review your books and put it in. And I did this because one of my, a couple of my friends and I, we're fanatic book readers. And we were, they were talking to me about how they wish they had something where they could journal their favorite books and also give this to other people that they knew who loved books. These are great gifts. And then this, of course, is, my favorite. This is I Love Myself journal. And several of you asked me about this. I'm always talking about visioning, and you wanted to have something where you can actually think about the different aspects of your life and record, journal about your vision, and always have a vision board with you. It's funny when we do vision boards, and I love vision boards. We often do them at one point of the year, usually in January, February, or December as we're planning for the next year. We'll go get a vision board. This journal allows you to do a vision board all the time, every day, and it's laid out for you. And it also gives a place for you to always remember the things and reasons, the things that you love about yourself, and any of the self-improvements that you might want to make. So this I Love Myself journal, again, thank you for asking me to put these together, that you really wanted, my thoughts and you wanted me to pour what I thought were important journals into creating that for you. And so that's there for you. Love you. Thank you for joining us today. And remember, the conversation was focused on your job, your next job, the tips to get your next job, as well as what to do once you got it, because we know many of you are considering making a move, making a new job move. The conversation also can be applied to everything you do in life. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a mom, whatever, if you're looking for the tips and the strategies on what to do next, how to lead yourself, this is the place we want you to come. So thank you for joining us live and on the replay. See you next time on Ignite to Impact Live.
Ignite to Impact.